What's good, fight fans? The UFC is making its long-awaited return to the Apex this weekend. After that 6 weeks off, then those two pathetic numbered events, we are finally getting the event that we were all actually waiting for. The wait's finally over, boys. It's UFC Fight Night, Bautista versus Oliveira. The Apex has been rebranded to the Meta Apex, and it's the new and improved hub of the UFC's most cooked cards. But this card is a low-key banger. Us hardcore fans are actually in for a treat with this one. Bantamweights Mario Bautista and Vinicius Lockdog Oliveira are clashing in the main event. You know it's fight week because Oliveira has magically jumped up 2 spots in the bantamweight rankings by simply existing. We see you, Dana. Stop doing this sneaky little shit. You realise the website shows a little green arrow, right? That's got me a bit worried about my pick this week. We'll get to that one a bit later. We've also got my guy Kyoji Horiguchi getting down to business against Amir Albazi, one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. Speaking of exciting fighters, Jailton Almeida is stepping in on short notice, replacing Ryan Spann. He's taken on Rizvan Kuniev in what's certain to be a highly skilled technical war at heavyweight. We've got Michal Oleksiejczuk versus Powerbar, Jean Matsumoto, he's a decent prospect. The Basharat bros are on here to put us to sleep. Dustin Jacoby, Daniel Donchenko, Alex Morono, Nico Price, Jakub Wiklacz, Gorilla Dick is on here. Yeah, bro, this card actually slaps despite the lack of big names. I genuinely think this is going to be a great card, or at least very decent. We've had plenty of worse Apex cards than this over the years. Honestly, we've had worse crowded fight nights and even a pay-per-view or two I can think of. That London card that was just announced, Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. That card looks like hot, white dog shit. I'd say this card is better than that one by a good margin. I've only seen the main card of that one though. Anyway, there's some decent hardcore matchups to get through. I'm going to make this a bit of a quicker video just because I'm not getting a huge amount of feedback on these prediction vids. So if you are enjoying these breakdowns and predictions, make sure you comment and like the video so my cooked brain gets the dopamine hit it needs to keep on going. I'm only just hanging on by a thread here, fellas. Help a brother out. Doesn't take much to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't. Do it right now, you fucking tossers. Don't leave me hanging. UFC Fight Night, Bautista versus Oliveira. Quickfire, Punch Ons, predictions. Let's punch on. All right, we're jumping straight into the main event. Mario Bautista versus Vinicius Oliveira. In my opinion, this is the fight of the night, and it deserves to be at the top of the card. As much as these two aren't the most beloved fighters or the hugest names, they are probably two of the better up-and-coming guys at bantamweight who are already ranked. It's a pretty stacked division at the moment, bantamweight. It's very congested at the top, and it's hard to break into that top 5 with all the legacy and the stalled matchups at the top. Jan versus Merab 3 is probably going to happen. O'Malley's waiting for a title shot. Sandhagen is just a perennial gatekeeper. Song Yadong and Zahabi are up there holding up a spot. Umar's in line for a shot too, and he beat Mario Bautista. So it seems like a long way to go for either of these guys to get a title shot, even though they are ranked decently high at number 9 and 11 respectively. It should be an interesting style matchup, this one. Bautista gets a lot of hate, but he's a pretty solid, well-rounded fighter. I don't mind him. He's got solid conventional striking, can wrestle, defensively good, not the most exciting guy in the world, but he does have KOs and submissions inside the UFC. More so a decision guy though, but he hasn't been 5 rounds in the UFC. Neither has Vinicius Oliveira, so it should be a good test for both guys. Just from the eye test here, I think Bautista has the better style to go 5 rounds, if he can avoid getting finished by the explosive Oliveira. Vinicius looked pretty exciting when he got that crazy flying knee finish over Bernardo Sapai, and we thought he was going to be this, insane Brazilian finishing machine. But since then, he's had 3 decision wins in a row, and to be honest, I can't really remember either of them. Only sort of the fight of the night performance he had against Said Nurmagomedov. Wasn't really that good of a fight though, to be honest, even though it won the bonus. Said won round 1, and then they both kind of gassed out and got pretty sloppy with it and just slung leather and rolled around in some pretty messy grappling exchanges. Oliveira ended up getting the nod. He did win rounds 2 and 3, but it wasn't that impressive. Every time I've watched Mario Bautista fight, I've been like, yeah, this guy's good. He's elite. I think he got a tough matchup in Umar. We know that Umar's top tier at bantamweight. He's a Nurmagomedov, for fuck's sake. Bautista did pretty well against Umar too. He went for a toe hold in round 1 that got the crowd a bit excited. Not really the highest IQ move to go for a toe hold in the UFC, but he had a crack at least. He also landed a big knee up the middle that sat Umar down in round 2. That was the biggest moment in that fight for Mario, and it was pretty solid, but Umar bounced straight back up. But then for the rest of the fight, pretty much he just got smudged and out-grappled in the typical, safe, boring Dagestani way. It wasn't too bad of a showing for Mario Bautista in like his first loss in a while. Umar's a legit guy. Losing to him by close decision is not a sign that this guy sucks. If he'd lost to Patchy Mix, on the other hand, though. But he did what he was supposed to do against Patchy. I think Bautista will have the edge all round here against Vinicius Oliveira. Vinicius has got to knock him out or submit him, and I think Bautista is too well-rounded and defensively secure to get finished unless it's by like a crazy fluke knee or something. Honestly, I think Bautista has the advantage everywhere in this fight, and he's going to make it pretty decisive against Vinicius Oliveira. I could see him shutting down the striking, being more clean and technical, snapping low kicks, jabbing and moving. His hands are pretty decent without being insane. Not that easy on the eye, but still very, very good. I think he out-grapples Oliveira too. A lot of these Brazilian guys are good at submitting you if you're sloppy on the ground, but I think Bautista is good enough down there to keep himself safe, or maybe even just to keep it on the feet. If he avoids getting finished early by Oliveira, I reckon it's curtains. I don't see Oliveira beating him by decision. I think Oliveira's gas tank is very questionable, and we saw that in the Said fight. Look, I'm pretty confident that Mario Bautista is going to finish Vinicius Oliveira. I'm a bit torn on TKO or submission. I could definitely see Bautista stuffing takedowns, surviving a few early moments, and then taking over on the feet as the fight goes on. Late rounds TKO for Bautista was my first thought when I saw this matchup. Late round submission by like a rear naked choke or something wouldn't surprise me, but honestly, either would a decision. I think Bautista has multiple ways to get this one done, and I'm putting a pretty confident pick on him this week. Not so confident with the method. Fuck it, let's slap a lock on Mario Bautista. It's a bit crazy to say it. A lot of my locks have been going on just because I think the other guy sucks. But with this one, I genuinely think Mario Bautista is a much better fighter overall, and the chance for Vinicius Oliveira to win is pretty low, other than like a puncher's chance. My only other main event lock was Ronnie DeRitter against Brendan Allen, and we saw what happened there. So look, I may be putting a curse on Mario Bautista here, but if that's the case, I'm sure the MMA community won't mind. We're doing it, fellas. Main event locked and loaded. Mario Bautista by round 4. TKO is my final call. He's going to get it done. Let's punch on. Amir Albazi versus Kyoji Horiguchi. My guy, Kyoji Horiguchi, is going to get down to business against Amir Albazi. Sick co-main event. People will sleep on this because it's flyweight and it's Amir Albazi. Actually, what am I talking about? This is a flyweight co-main event with Amir Albazi. Kyoji Horiguchi is the only exciting thing about this fight. I'm pretty torn on this one, boys. Horiguchi became an immediate Punch Ons favourite after he opened up a can of whoop ass on that filthy little rat bitch cunt Tagir Ulanbekov late last year. Honestly, that was one of the most satisfying hate watches in UFC history. Kyoji dog walked Tagir, legitimately broke him. 5'4" little munchkin absolutely mollywopped this guy. Pieced him up and just mowed him down with complete disregard. Finished him by submission after a total domination. It was impressive, but I have to say Tagir has never been that good, and he looked extra shit that night. Like he just didn't really want to be there at all. I've never seen Khabib look so disgruntled in my life. But look, Horiguchi is that guy, man. He's got a ton of experience. He's beaten a lot of good guys in his long career. A record of 35-5 is no joke, even if he's fighting outside the main promotion. And look, he's fought big names like Mighty Mouse, Sergio Pettis, Manel Cap and more. He's got big fight experience, does Kyoji Horiguchi. There's something I can't get past, though, when I look down this man's record. Losses to Kai Asakura and Patchy Mix. Brother, ooh, imagine losing to Patchy Mix. Did Lil Bro slip on a banana peel or something? That's fucked up, man. That just eliminates 95% of the confidence I had for this guy, even though I love him. Look, Amir Albazi's nothing special. He's been very inactive, coming off injuries and layoffs, and he lost his last one against Brandon Moreno quite convincingly. Some of his wins have not aged that well either. Kai Kara France, Nono Costa. Yeah, I don't know, bro. This one's tough to pick. I want to pick Horiguchi so bad. He's a mean, nasty little fucker. Albazi is not great whatsoever, but something in my heart's telling me that Albazi's going to win this. I think he slows it down, makes it a more technical affair than the Ulanbekov fight, mixes in takedowns, neutralises Kyoji Horiguchi, and just uses a little bit of the size advantage that he has to get this one done by decision. Horiguchi's really small at flyweight. That's not ideal when you're facing like a kind of strong, thick, grappling heavy guy like Amir Albazi, who's got decent hands, good defense, and a solid chin. Unfortunately, I think we see Kyoji Horiguchi just become one of these win one, lose one old unks from outside the UFC like Patricio Pitbull. I've got Amir Albazi winning a smothering, boring 29-28 decision and killing off the buzz of Kyoji Horiguchi. I'll be pleasantly surprised if I'm wrong though, but I'm going to go with my gut on this one. We're going with Amir Albazi. Speaking of guts, Rizvan, the great white blob, Kuniev, is taking on Jailton Almeida, who's stepping up on pretty short notice to take this fight, which was originally meant to be Ryan Spann versus Rizvan Kuniev. I think Kuniev is stepping up to face a much better opponent here, and I do think he's going to have his work cut out for him. Jailton Almeida, as much as he's a terrorist of the sport, even more so than Amir Albazi IRL, I think he's on a different level than Ryan Spann. Even though we hate to admit it, Jailton Almeida is actually one of the most skilled wrestlers in the heavyweight division, and he's made a name for himself as the fat guy strangler. Look who he's going up against here, Muhammad Blobanov himself. This guy looks like what Melchizedek Costa will look like in 20 years when his vitiligo is in its final form and he stacks on another 120 kilos. Look, I don't really rate Rizvan Kuniev. Curtis Blaydes was able to blast a double leg on him within 20 seconds and get him down first try. And even though Curtis Blaydes knocked out Jailton Almeida, I still think Almeida has better grappling and takedowns than Curtis Blaydes. Originally, I thought the pick was going to be Jailton Almeida by submission. But when I was watching that fight between Rizvan Kuniev and Curtis Blaydes, my mind actually started changing. My initial thought was Jailton Almeida's just going to take this guy down and smudge him, choke him out in round one like he normally does to all these blobs. But I've got to say, number one, Rizvan Kuniev beat Curtis Blaydes in my opinion. It came down to round 3, and I thought that Rizvan Kuniev landed the better shots in that round. Aside from that, I was actually somewhat impressed with Kuniev's counter-grappling and how he responded when Blaydes did get him down. He showed a decent ability to return to his feet, which a lot of these fat fucks at heavyweight can't seem to do. And look, Blaydes is no slouch in the wrestling either, and he wasn't able to impose his will on Rizvan Kuniev. When they went toe-to-toe on the feet, yeah, Curtis Blaydes was striking like a fucking sped, but Kuniev actually looks decent on the feet. He's got good straight punches and throws them in combinations while he jiggles around with his belly, and he was actually able to bust Curtis Blaydes up badly in round 2. Even though Blaydes is pretty average on the feet, he's better there than Jailton Almeida, who couldn't strike his way out of a wet paper bag. So I've actually changed my mind on this one. I'm picking Rizvan Kuniev. I think he was hard done by against Blaydes. I thought he won that fight. Clearly, he won the last two rounds. I think he's going to probably have a bit of trouble early, like most of Jailton Almeida's opponents. But you got to think about what happens to Jailton when he isn't able to finish his opponents inside the first round. He usually gasses the fuck out and just shoots sloppy, desperate takedowns and shows zero striking whatsoever. I think Kuniev can outlast the first threat from Jailton. I think he can get back to his feet and he'll start finding a home for his straight punches. I think he's going to put some damage on Jailton Almeida. He'll have him panic shooting carelessly, and once he starts shucking Jailton Almeida off in the second round, I reckon he's going to start tagging him, kicking his legs, peppering the jab and finding uppercuts and overhands that put Jailton Almeida down and put him away. We've seen that his chin ain't that good. It normally doesn't get tested, but when he faces adversity and his grappling game isn't working, he can quit and get finished like he did against Curtis Blaydes. But I reckon Rizvan Kuniev is actually going to TKO this roid monster for real, not just like a weak quit TKO. I reckon he's actually going to put one on his chin and put him out. He's coming in on short notice. I think his chin won't be quite as conditioned. I can see a Rizvan Kuniev knockout. So I'm going to go with the underdog pick of Rizvan Kuniev by TKO in the second round, maybe late first. I reckon he takes care of Jailton Almeida and banishes him from the title talks once and for all. And Dana White will give him like a $400,000 bonus. We're going Rizvan Kuniev. Next up, it's Michal Oleksiejczuk versus Marc-Andre Barriault. I'm going to confidently pick Michal Oleksiejczuk here, boys. This bloke's actually pretty sick. He eats these lower level middleweights for breakfast, and I think Marc-Andre Barriault is a tailor-made matchup for him. Michal's been looking pretty filth on the feet too. He's knocked out his last 2 opponents in the first round. In fact, his last 6 wins have all been by round 1 TKO. He's had a few losses in there too, including to Kevin Holland, Shara Bullet, Mikel Pereira, and Caio Borralho. All decent guys. But yeah, I think when Michal gets these scrubbier, like bottom feeder type guys like the Meerschaerts, the Brundages, the Cedricas Dumas, he usually makes light work of them. And I think Marc-Andre Barriault is in that conversation. I think this one will be over with pretty quick, but I do think we're going to see some action here. Powerbar is a pretty fun guy too. He likes to bang, but I think we've seen the best of his chin. He's been knocked out a few times lately, and he took a fair bit of punishment against Shara Bullet in his last out. Look, I wouldn't say it's impossible for Marc-Andre Barriault to win this one by KO or decision. I just think the momentum's with Michal Oleksiejczuk. His brother's in the UFC now. He just got his first win. Michal, he's hungry. He's training hard. I think he's still improving. I think he's on the rise. I'm going to say he knocks out Marc-Andre Barriault in round number 2 just to keep things spicy. I reckon we mix it up and say round 2. I reckon these guys go to war in round 1. Both blokes land on each other and they get really scrappy. Someone gets busted up, shoots a takedown, and they get tangled up for a bit in the first round with Michal chasing a submission. I reckon Marc-Andre will survive. Then they're going to clash again in round 2, and Michal will land a power shot that puts Marc-Andre down, and Michal Oleksiejczuk finishes him by ground and pound. Round 2, early round 2 TKO for Michal Oleksiejczuk. Should be fireworks in this one. I'm looking forward to seeing these guys fight. Wouldn't surprise me if this one is fight of the night. Jean Matsumoto versus Farid Basharat. Look, both of the Basharat bros are fighting on this card, as they always do. These boys seem to have their schedules synced up perfectly. It's actually kind of cute. I still don't think either of them are worth a pinch of purple pelican poop. Neither Basharat bro could bash a rat, and I don't see Farid beating Jean Matsumoto, even though Farid is probably the better, more skillful Basharat brother. That's why he's higher up the card. I just think Jean Matsumoto has the youth and the momentum on his side. He would have learned some lessons from his loss to Rob Font. He bounced back straight after with a win over Miles Johns. Yeah, close fight, split decision, but I thought he clearly won that. He's staying active. I think he's on the rise at bantamweight. I know Farid is undefeated in the UFC, but he ain't beaten nobody. Chris Gutierrez, Victor Hugo, Taylor Lapulus, Clayton Rodriguez, Damon Blackshear. I guess some of these guys are okay. And don't get me wrong, Jean Matsumoto hasn't exactly been through a murderer's row either, but I just feel like he's got a bit more going for him than Farid Basharat. What I am confident of, though, is that this fight stinks the place up, as do all Basharat fights. So be prepared for a shit fight here. I'm going to go with Jean Matsumoto by close decision, not confidently whatsoever. I just reckon Jean's going to look better on the feet, has to deal with a bit of grappling from Basharat maybe, but I reckon he ekes out a decision by landing some better shots on the feet, scrambling on the mat, and maybe throwing up some submission offense as well. It's a 50-50 fight. I'd coin flip this one if there wasn't already a more coin flippy fight later down the card. Whoa, maybe it involves the other Basharat bro. We have to wait and see. Not going to waste my time breaking down this fight, lads. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by talking about Farid Basharat any longer. I'm not going to desecrate my channel by picking him. It's Jean Matsumoto all the way by decision. Dustin Jacoby versus Julius Walker. Should be a banger, this one. Light heavyweight lads having a bit of a crack. Dustin Jacoby getting this fight on short notice. I believe he was supposed to be fighting Jimmy Crute on the Aussie card last weekend, but I think Crute's done his ACL or something. Sucks for Jimmy. Hope you get healed up fast there, brother. But yeah, Julius Juicebox Walker's stepping in to take on Dustin the Hunyak Jacoby. Honestly, I really like Dustin Jacoby as a fighter. I've been a big fan of his for ages. He's a bit of a frustrating guy to be a fan of, though. Sometimes he looks like he's going to be the world champ. Other times he just looks like a completely one-dimensional spaz banging his head against the wall. And he just does some dumb shit to lose fights sometimes. So you can never really know what's going to happen in a Jacoby fight. He's been pretty hit or miss lately, but he is coming off 2 wins over Vitor Petrino, which is decent, and Bruno Lopez. Julius Walker, he's beaten Rafael Sygula in his UFC career. That guy's literally the human punching bag. He's the fucking anti-highlight reel. I'm pretty sure my nan knocked Rafael Sygula out. Who hasn't at this point? He couldn't take a wet fart to the chin, that bloke. And Julius Walker beat him by decision, bro. That's all you need to know. He lost to Alonzo Menefield before that. Oh, that might be the worst UFC record of all time. Lost to Alonzo Menefield by split decision and a decision win over Rafael Sygula. Dude, shame. I'm going with Dustin Jacoby to piece this guy up, jab his face off, box the bleeding ears off him.
I was boxing the bleeding head off him, kicking the bleeding leg off him.
And TKO him in round 2. Should be easy work for Jacoby. Julius Walker's a bum. If Dustin loses to him, he's cooked. Right, let's fire off these prelim quick picks. I promise I'll keep them quick this week. Alex Morono versus Daniel Donchenko. I fucked up by not picking Daniel Donchenko in his debut last year. I didn't do my research. Look, I still haven't done it, but I don't need to study tape to know that he beats Alex Morono. This guy should not be in the UFC. He's a complete jobber unk, and he's going to get knocked the fuck out. Donchenko should chin him in round 1. Morono can take a punch, but he just gets hit so much, bro. I reckon Donchenko just overwhelms him with strikes and damage and gets him out of there inside 5 minutes. So lock number 2 out of 2 on this card. This is one of the ones where I don't completely believe in the guy I'm picking, just very, very confident that the other guy finds a way to lose. So locking in Donchenko. I'm a fan of the guy. He should get this one done. Nikolai Veretennikov versus Nico Price. Another pretty low-level scrap here. Nico Price is cooked as well, I reckon. I've got him in that same washed unk bucket as Alex Morono. It's fitting that these guys are sharing a card together. Maybe they should fight each other and retire. Oh, they already have fought each other. Nico Price beat Alex Morono by decision. There you go. Yeah, look, Nikolai Veretennikov is shit, but he's dangerous and he actually inflicts damage with his hands. He's a bit wild and sloppy, but I picked him to beat Punahele Soriano. He went the distance, he can take a shot, and he has power. I think he chins Nico Price, unfortunately for Nico. This guy got knocked out by the decaying, rotten corpse of Robbie Lawler in the 21st century. So gimme Nikolai Veretennikov by TKO in round 1. Bruno Brasil versus Ketlin Souza. Wouldn't be an Apex card without a completely irrelevant, unranked Brazilian versus Brazilian women's strawweight fight, would it now, boys? I couldn't be arsed breaking this down. I'm not even going to dignify it with a coin flip. Got to go with Bruno Brasil by decision, 29-28. Very safe to go with the 29-28 decision in women's fights. Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Javid Basharat. A Nurmagomedov versus a Basharat. This is like Hitler versus Bin Laden, this one, boys. No, I actually reckon Saeed is okay. I didn't love his performance against Vinicius Oliveira. He also got beat by Bryce Mitchell. He gassed out and quit in his last couple of fights. We've seen these daggies do that a bit lately, eh? Who would have thought these guys would be gutless fucks with no ticker, eh? Anyway, I don't really want to pick either of these guys. To be honest, I'd be pretty happy with a double knockout or a no contest or a DQ or something. I'm going to let the coin decide my fate here. We're on a heater with the coin, boys. 2 out of 2 in 2026, 100%. I'm feeling a cook spin this week. We've got to balance this shit out. So, yeah, we're going to go heads is Saeed Nurmagomedov, tails is Javid Basharat. Coin flip time. Let's see what we got. Ooh, we are going with a Basharat. Ooh, brother. Ooh, I didn't really want to pick him. But yeah, the coin is spoken. We're going to lock in. Not lock in. Fuck no. Jeez. Christ. No, we're going to go with Javid Basharat. And I'm going to say he wins this one by decision in typical boring fashion. The coin has spoken. All right, now we're going on to Gorilla Dick versus Eduardo Moura. One of my favourite nicknames in the UFC, Cong Wang, Gorilla Dick. Pretty sure the racist commentators were calling her wonton there at one point as well. I actually think she's decent. She was like the next up-and-coming thing there for a bit until she got fraud checked by Gabriela Fernandez, I want to say.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Eduardo Moura, she's not the worst. She beat Veronica Hardy, which is an okay win. Retired Lauren Murphy as well. I still think Gorilla Dick is the pick here. I think she's still got some promise. She's pretty good on the feet. Maybe Moura gives her some trouble on the ground, but I think Wang Kong can keep her at bay with strikes, put some little pillow punches and kicks and on her throughout 3 rounds and get the win on the judges' scorecards based on damage. Might be one of those ones where people call robbery, but Gorilla Dick clearly did more damage throughout the fight. Despite getting taken down, I could see that being one of these fights. We're going to go Gorilla Dick by split decision. Muin Gafurov versus Jacoby Wiklacz. The hairy Neanderthal prehistoric man versus the Aryan super race. This one should actually be interesting. I think Muin Gafurov is pretty solid as a fighter. Not the worst guy at all. And yeah, Jacoby Wiklacz went to a close, unclear decision with patchy mix. I really don't know who's going to win this at all, fellas, I've got to say. I think I'm going to go with Muin Gafurov, just having a bit more mongrel in him, winning the close moments, spending more time on top, and outworking Wiklacz over 3 rounds. So, yeah, look, no confidence or authority on this one whatsoever. Just reckon the hairier guy's going to win. We'll go with Muin Gafurov by decision. I don't think the hairy guy's going to win in this last one, though. I got Claudia Sygula beating Priscilla Cachoeira. I'm going to say by TKO. Sygula is hot. That's the main reason. That's why I'm picking her. But she's actually pretty slick on the feet too. I have watched her fight. Cachoeira's been chinned a few times and she's not got great striking defense at all. She likes to pour on the pressure and go into the fire, and I think that's going to play into Claudia Sygula's game. I reckon she's going to be able to skate around on the back foot, countering, and eventually she's going to snipe Priscilla Cachoeira with something and put her away. So I'm going to go with Sygula by TKO in the 2nd or 3rd round. All right, let's bang out the Punch Ons Parlay for the week, boys. The first leg I'm dropping for you is Daniel Donchenko. I reckon this bloke's going to get it done by TKO. I've got a lock on him. He's going to beat Alex Morono. Yeah, I think the UFC knows what they're doing with this one. Second leg, boys, we're going to go with Michal Oleksiejczuk. I think he's going to get a win by TKO. Look, maybe a submission. He has got a decent ground game as well, but I can see him knocking his opponent out. So we're going to go with Michal. I'm actually going to slap a TKO. His last few wins have been round 1 TKO. I'm feeling that he's going to keep that going. Rizvan Kuniev, man, he's a decent underdog pick this week. Now, a lot of people are going to be picking Jailton Almeida. I understand why, but this is just one of those ones I've got a feeling about. Look, this could be Alonzo Menefield talking here. He has been a bit... unhelpful for the last few weeks. He got me last weekend, boys. I had a pretty much perfect card predicted, and then Alonzo told me to pick just Junior Tafa and fucking Dan Hooker. So honestly, I even went through my notes last week, my slides, and I had written down Benoit Saint-Denis as my pick, and I'd written down Billy Alicana as my pick. So if I had to fucking not listen to Alonzo Menefield, I would have picked the entire card correctly. So Rizvan Kuniev, put him in at your own risk. I got a feeling he's going to win. Don't ask me why. There's a weird little twitch going on in my brain, so this could be Alonzo, but I'm going to chuck him in. It'll add a little bit of value to your parlay this week too. I reckon if he does win, he'll get it done by TKO, maybe decision, but I think he's going to put one on the chin of Jailton Almeida. And my most confident main event pick I've had in a while, we're going with Mario Bautista in the parlay as well, boys. I reckon he's going to get it done on the nose. I think he's got multiple ways to win, and I can't really decide which way I'm leaning on that one. Kind of TKO is my pick, but I could see Bautista getting this one done by decision too. So I'm just going to say Bautista will win the fight. I think he's the favourite too, so it's not going to add heats. But yeah, look, I chucked that into Sportsbet without the methods because it hasn't quite published them yet, and I got $5.09. I reckon once you put methods in later in the week, this one's going to be pretty juicy. So yeah, we're primed to hit one this week, boys. The last couple have been close. This is the one we knock on the nose, all right? So there's the whole card of picks there, boys. We're locking in Bautista. We've got Albazi to win. We've got Kuniev, Oleksiejczuk, Matsumoto, Dustin Jacoby. We're locking in Daniil Donchenko, Nikolai Veretennikov, Bruno Brasil, Javid Basharat got the coin flip. Gorilla Dick's going to win, Muin Gafurov, and Claudia Sygula. So that's it, lads. The full card Punch Ons picks for the UFC Fight Night, Bautista versus Oliveira. I'm coming off a big card of picks last week. We've been doing pretty good in 2026. We're going to keep that pick percentage high all year long. I'm dropping the Punch Ons official GOAT list this week. It's a very scientific approach. Been working very hard on this video. It's completely backed by mathematics, and you'll be very surprised with who came out on top. It's not who you think. So if you want more UFC content and you're digging the videos, make sure to support my channel and my mental health by dropping a like, subscribe if you haven't. That's about 90% of you lazy fucks. Just click the button. Follow me on IG at Punch Ons MMA. I'm making some clean card graphics on there. Make sure you hit me up if you want them. They're going to waste just getting used by me. So remember, boys, like and subscribe. If you don't,
you are gay.
punch on.